Let me first say this. If motivation was enough, half of y'all wouldn't be tired right now. Message. Nah, but for real. Motivation is cute. Motivation sounds good on Beyonce's internet. Motivation works until life shows up on a random Tuesday with bills, pressure, loneliness, expectations, and a world that really don't give a damn about you or how you feel. Then what? Exactly. See, nobody tells you this part early enough. Motivation is emotional. It's an emotion, and emotions are inconsistent as hell. You wake up motivated, you go to sleep discouraged. Wake up confused, scroll, compare. Now you're questioning your whole life before breakfast. That's not a character flaw. That's bad design. And I'm talking to you specifically, the ones that everybody expects to just figure it out. The ones who always been told, you so smart, you're so talented, you strong, you be all right. No plan, no structure, just pressure and vibes. That's the setup. Let me be clear. The world loves telling us to stay motivated because motivation puts all the responsibility on you. If you fail, it's because you didn't want it bad enough. If you burn out, it's because you lost focus. If you fall apart, it's because you didn't pray hard enough or you didn't grind hard enough. Whole time, nobody helps you build anything sturdy. Here's the truth nobody posts. Structure is what saves you when motivation disappears. Structure is what keeps you moving when your mind is loud and your heart is heavy and you don't feel like being strong today. Structure is love in motion, but with a backbone. All right, before you roll your eyes like, okay, here we go, another lecture, relax, my boy. I'm not talking about control. I'm not talking about living a boring life. I'm not talking about turning into an NPC. I'm talking about survival that doesn't cost you your soul. Because too many of y'all been surviving off adrenaline and pressure and the need to prove something. Okay, that shit works until it doesn't. Let me say something real simple. If the only reason you're functioning is because people are watching, you're not stable, you're performing. If the only time you show up is when you feel inspired, you're not disciplined, you're gambling. And if your whole life falls apart the moment you feel sad, tired, or unmotivated, that means nothing was holding you. That's not weakness, that's the absence of structure. And nobody taught you that because nobody taught them. See, a lot of us grew up fast, too fast. We learned how to manage drama before we learned how to relax. We learned how to handle business before we learned how to handle our emotions. We learned how to push through before we ever learned how to pause. So now everybody thinks you're good because you're still standing. But standing is not the same as being uplifted in support. Now, here's where I'm going to probably ruffle some of y'all feathers. Motivation is overrated. Because motivation only works when life is actually cooperating. Structure works when life is disrespectful. Structure is what tells you, even on my worst day, I still know what my next move is. Not because you feel good, but because the system is already in place. Think about it like this. As far as I know from my experience working with athletes, they don't rely on motivation. They actually rely on routine. Pilots, the ones who fly the planes, they don't rely on vibes. They actually rely on a checklist. You think you're supposed to freestyle life and somehow everything is going to be okay? Nah, that's not freedom. That's stress with a filter on it. So if you're tired right now, not lazy, not broken, not unfocused, just tired, it's probably not because you lack motivation. It's because motivation has been doing a job structure is supposed to handle. Because feelings change, energy dips, life keeps lifing. And if the only thing moving you forward is how you feel that day, you're always one bad moment away from stopping. That's not discipline. That's gambling. Nobody taught you how to move when your mind is loud and your heart is heavy. They just told you to be strong. And strength without structure is just pressure dressed up as praise. So the question isn't, why can't I get it together? The question is, what's actually holding me together when I don't feel like it? Because hype fades, vibes dissipate, but whatever is holding you up when motivation clocks out, that's the part that matters. Ooh, let me tell you the other lie they sold y'all. They told you mental health was about talking. Just talk about it, journal it, name it, write it, cry it out, right? Write it out, cry it out, whatever. Cool. All of that matters. But talking without a plan is just venting with a therapeutic vocabulary. Knowing what's wrong and being able to identify thoughts and feelings does not automatically tell you what to do next. You can be self-aware as hell and still stuck. You can name every trigger, every wound, every childhood issue, and still wake up every day like, okay, now what? Feelings are deaf real, but feelings are terrible managers. Feelings don't clock in on time. Feelings don't follow through. Feelings will lie to your face and swear they're protecting you. Feelings be like, stay in bed today. The world is dangerous. Meanwhile, your life is falling apart quietly. Feelings will convince you you're not ready, not good enough, not prepared, right before the opportunity passes. That's why feelings can't be in charge. They get a seat, the passenger seat. Every now and then, they may even have to take a back seat, but they do not get the steering wheel. Nobody explained this to us early in life, or at least early enough, especially our young Black men. They'll tell you to express yourself, but they won't show you how to move once you do. They'll say, check on your mental health, but won't teach you how to build days that don't wreck your mental health in the first place. That's backwards as fuck. Excuse my French. But no, for real, it's backwards. Here's something I need you to hear clearly. Mental health without execution turns into rumination, which is just thinking about your problems in HD, like just thinking over and over and over again. You don't need to think longer and harder. You need something to do when your thoughts start spiraling, right? Because when your mind gets loud, you don't need a speech like what I'm giving you right now. You need instructions. I'm giving you some instructions too, though, but you need instructions. Think about it. When you're anxious, your brain is already running laps, right? When you're depressed, your energy is already low. When you're overwhelmed, your decision making is already fried. So, why would the plan be figure it out in the moment? That's like asking someone who's drowning to Google swimming techniques. Like, let's be for real. This is why structure matters, because structure reduces decisions when your brain can't handle more choices. It 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 tells you, even if you feel like shit, here's what is next on your program. Okay? Not because you're weak, but because you're human. And let me say this with love. A lot of y'all confuse discipline with punishment. You think routines are boring, schedules are restrictive, systems are for people with no personality. Nah, bruh. Structure is how you protect your personality. Structure is how you stop burning energy on the same problems every day. Structure is how you make progress without needing a hype speech first. In my experience, again with athletes, okay, listen, this week is for my sons, and my sons were athletes. Athletes get this instinctively. They don't wait, like, you don't wait until you feel like training. You train because it's training day, right? You don't freestyle the game plans. You practice patterns and your routes so your muscle memory knows what to do when the pressure hits. Life works the exact same way. If everything depends on how you feel, you'll feel your way right into inconsistency. Okay, now I'm gonna say this, and it might be funny, but it's true. If your whole routine collapses because you had a bad day, you never had a routine. You had a mood. It was just vibes. Execution doesn't mean ignoring your feelings. It means building a life that doesn't fall apart every time your feelings change their mind. It means you don't ask, what do I feel like doing today? You ask, what's already decided? Like, what's on the agenda? Because decisions and tasks that are tasked out in advance save you when your brain is tired, when your feelings are overwhelmed. And once you get that, once you stop expecting motivation to rescue you every morning, you stop being shocked by your own inconsistency. You stop feeling like something's wrong with you. You realize, oh, I don't need more inspiration. I need better systems. Because peace isn't about having no problems. Peace is knowing what to do next, even when you don't feel okay. Feelings are real, but structure is what keeps you alive on the days your feelings betray you. Here is where it gets uncomfortable for us, because when you start talking about structure, a lot of us secretly panic, right? Not because we don't want peace, but because chaos is a very familiar friend. Chaos is home. Some of us grew up in noise, in drama, in pressure, in unpredictability. So when things get quiet, when life gets calm, we don't relax. We get suspicious. We overthink. Like, why is everything feeling so still? Or what's about to go wrong? That's another one. That's not intuition. That's conditioning, though. I just want to make sure we clarify that. A lot of us confuse excitement and chaos with momentum. If something isn't like pushing us, or if it isn't urgent, we don't take it seriously. If nobody's pressuring us, we start slacking off. If life isn't loud, we feel unproductive. So we stay busy, right? Not because we need to, but because stillness feels unsafe. I know, wild, but that's real. That's what's real. Let's be honest with each other. Some of us don't actually want peace yet. We want familiarity. We want what we know. We want to survive instead of thrive, because drama and chaos lets us stay in reaction mode, always responding, always adjusting, which feels productive, but it's really just busy because we're never slowing down long enough to actually feel what's underneath. Structure changes that. Structure creates space, and space brings feelings when that you've been dodging for years, right? That's why structure feels scary to some of us. Let me say this in a way that doesn't sound like a lecture. Calm feels boring when your nervous system is addicted to stress. I'm going to say it again for the people in the back. Calm feels boring when your nervous system is addicted to stress. If your whole life has been pressure, peace feels very empty. Not because it is, but because your body doesn't know what to do with it yet. So we end up self-sabotaging and creating more drama and trauma for ourselves. We wait till the last minute. We overbook ourselves or overpromise. We create unnecessary problems and issues with ourselves and with other people. Then we say, see, I work better under pressure. No, you're just used to chaos doing your motivation for you. And I'm saying we on purpose because a lot of us have been high functioning for so long that nobody noticed we were tired. We adapted early. We figured it out on the fly. We learned how to make something out of nothing. Now that's a skill, especially for Black people. But skills can turn into cages if you never update them. When what saved you before might be costing you now. Structure isn't about locking yourself in. It's about giving yourself something solid to lean on. It's about not having to reinvent your life every time your emotions shift. It's about saying, even if I don't feel my best today, I still know how my day goes. That's not boring. That's freedom. And let's be for real. Chaos is expensive as fuck. It costs time, it costs energy, it costs focus, it costs peace. And some of us been paying that price so long, we forgot there are other options. Here's the quiet truth, or my quiet truth. When life is structured, your mind gets to rest. And when your mind gets rest, your emotions regulate. And when your emotions regulate, you stop making decisions from panic. That's not self-help talk. That's successful lifing math. And once we start seeing that, we stop romanticizing pain and struggle. We stop confusing exhaustion with ambition. And we stop wearing burnout like a badge. We realize we don't need life to be harder to feel accomplished. We need it to be steady. And peace doesn't come from finally figuring everything out. Peace comes from knowing we don't have to figure everything out every single day. Okay, so let's bring it all the way home. By now, we already know the problem is not motivation, and it's not that we don't care, and it's definitely not that we aren't capable. The problem is we keep asking our emotions to do a job they were never meant to do. Feelings are great for information, terrible for leadership. And a lot of us been letting moods run the whole operation. That's why everything feels harder than it needs to be. So let's be honest with ourselves for a second. How many times have we said, I'll start when I feel ready. I'll lock in once I'm in a better headspace. I just need to get my mind right first. And then weeks pass, months pass, opportunities pass. Not because we didn't want it, but because we were waiting on feelings that never show up on a schedule. That's the trap. Structure isn't about being strict. It's about being honest. It's about saying, I know myself well enough to plan for my off days, because off days they coming. Like, there's nothing we can do about it. Low days are coming. Days where we don't feel confident, focused, or inspired. They are guaranteed to pop up in life. So instead of pretending they won't happen, structure says, cool, here's what we do anyway. And no, that doesn't mean your life becomes boring. It actually becomes lighter, easier. Because once the basics are handled, sleep, movement, food, work blocks, check-ins, your brain gets freed up for creativity, joy, peace, even passion. Structure handles the heavy lifting so we don't have to. Let me say this in a way that hopefully hits home. Structure is how we stop abandoning ourselves. It's how we stop waking up every day and renegotiating our worth. It's how we stop needing crisis to feel productive. It's how we show up for ourselves even when nobody else is clapping. Structure doesn't mean you lose flexibility. It means you have a baseline, right? Something to return to when life gets loud. Something that says, even if today is messy, I'm still grounded. That's stability. That's safety. That's self-care. A lot of us didn't grow up with that. We grew up learning how to regulate. No, I messed that up. We grew up learning how to react, not how to regulate. How to survive, not how to sustain. So if this feels foreign or awkward or uncomfortable, that doesn't mean it's wrong. It means it's different. Here's the shift. We stop asking, how do I stay motivated? And we start asking, what do I need in place so I don't fall apart when motivation leaves? Because motivation will leave. But structure says we don't need to feel better to move better. We need to build better so we can move even when we don't feel our best. That's not pressure, that's protection, and we deserve that.